Bruchim haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Yud Gimel Amud Aleph, 2 lines from the top. Our Gemara comes back to our Mishnah that states in regards to getting rid of your chametz, although midi araisa, it's only required after Chatzos, the beginning of the 7th hour. The Chachamim, they were makdim, the hour when one person has to get rid of their chametz. There are 3 shitas in our Mishnah. The first one is Rabbi Meir, who says you can eat your chametz the 5th hour, but in the beginning of the 6th hour you must destroy the chametz. Rabbi Yehuda argues and says that you can only eat your chametz the 4th hour. Already the 5th hour you can no longer eat your chametz, but it's mutter behanoah, and you have to destroy the chametz in the beginning of the 6th hour. Rabban Gamliel has a 3rd shita, and he says that a person can eat the chametz then the entire 4th hour, just like Rabbi Yehuda stated. In regards to truma, however, the Kohen can eat truma in the 5th hour. And the beginning of the 6th hour, he agrees you have to destroy the chametz. Says the Gemara, who is the halacha following? Explains the Gemara, Omar Rav Nachman, Omar Rav. Rav Nachman said in the name of Rav, halacha Rabbi Yehuda. The halacha follows the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Omar le Rav Rav Nachman. Rav said to Rav Nachman, v'nei Omar halacha Rabbi Meir. The sosam lontana kavosei. Let us say the opinion, the halacha follows Rabbi Meir's opinion. Because after all, the stam tana is like him, as follows. What did we say Rabbi Meir holds? Rabbi Meir says that you can eat chametz the entire 5th hour, unlike Rabbi Yehuda says only the entire 4th hour. Disnan, kol shah shemuter le'echol machil. The same hour that you're able to eat, it's mutter also to then feed an animal. That means the same hour that you can eat chametz, it's mutter bahana. The diuk would be that if it's no longer mutter to eat, then it's no longer mutter behana. So that's the sheet of Rabbi Meir, because Rabbi Meir says that there's no distinction between eating and having hana. And therefore, the same way that you can go ahead and eat the 5th hour, you can have hana the 5th hour. Whereas Rabbi Yehuda said you can only eat the 4th hour and no longer eat the 5th hour. Only the 5th hour allows you to have hana, but not to eat. So he's suggesting, Rava says, why not paskin like Rabbi Meir, like the Stam Mishnah? Says the Gemara, because he loves stamuhu. Mishum de kashya mutter. This Mishnah you just quoted is not a stam Mishnah. It's not anonymous to rule like Rabbi Meir, because there's a problem, a kashya, with the wording of the Mishnah. When the Mishnah states the words kol shah shemuter le'echol machil, it could have just said kol shah shemuter, kol shah she'oichel machil. But the fact that it says that it's mutter le'echol machil comes to teach us that it's mutter for the kohen to go ahead and eat his truma. That shah, which is the 5th hour, it's mutter to have anah, which is the sheet of Rabban Gamliel. Says the Gemara, therefore you cannot prove and then paskin like Rabbi Meir as a stam Mishnah. Let us suggest that the halacha is like Rabban Gamliel, who is machriya. We have a klal that the Gemara brings elsewhere in Gemara Shabbos, that when you have a machlekes, then you have a machriya. So then the halacha is like divrei hamachriya. So over here too, we have that Rabban Gamliel seems to be the machriya as follows, because the Mishnah stated the opinion of Rabbi Meir, then stated the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Now Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda, they both have their opinions in regards to chametz. According to Rabbi Meir, you can eat chametz the entire 5th hour. Rabbi Yehuda, the entire 4th hour. And they seemingly don't make a distinction between chametz that is chulin and chametz that is truma. Comes along Rabbi Gamliel and he says you can eat chametz that is chulin the entire 4th hour. So then he teams up with the sheet of Rabbi Yehuda, whereby there's a rov, and he's machriya. And he also teams up in regards to the 5th hour, that he says in the 5th hour that you can go ahead and eat truma. That is the shita of Rabbi Meir, because we're saying that Rabbi Meir seemingly does not make a distinction in Truma and Chulin. So therefore he makes a rov, and therefore you can have the Divrei HaMachriya Rabbi Gamliel. Omar Lei, he answers Rabbi Gamliel, Lav Machriyahu. He's not Machriya. Tam de Nafshei Komer, he's only saying his own Shita. In other words, here we don't have the opinions of Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda in regards to Truma. They are talking about Chulin. And therefore, when Rabbi Gamliel states his opinion, it's his own Shita. He's not being Machriya like a rov of Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda. The Gemara now says, V'i bois ema. Alternatively, you can say that Rav the Omer ki hai Tana. Rav holds like the following Tana to explain the Shita that the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda. It says, the Tanya in the Brisa, Arbo asar shechaliyos b'Shabbos, when Erev Pesach comes out to be on Shabbos, Yudal comes out to be on Shabbos, what do you do with the chametz? Mevarin es hakol milifnei Shabbos, destroy the chametz before Shabbos. V'sarfin trumois tmeyos tluyos v'taharos, and burn the trumois that are tmeyos, that are safek tamei safek tar, and that are tar, all types of truma, burn them before Shabbos. Umesharim mina taharos mazon shtei seudos kedei leechod ad daled shois, and keep enough of truma tahara that's going to be mazon for 2 seudos to be eaten on Shabbos for Shabbos seudos. We don't need a third su'uda because it's going to be after the zman of Isser. So therefore, 2 seudos is what we need to save. And it says over here that you would eat adalid shos, which would be the opinion indeed of Rabbi Yehuda, that you can eat indeed until the 4th hour. Divrei, says the Brisa, Rabbi Elazar ben Yehuda ish bar Tusa shomar mishum Rabbi Yehoshua. The Brisa records this as the words of Rabbi Elazar ben Yehuda. Omru loy, the Brisa continues, they say to Rabbi Elazar ben Yehuda, Taharos lo yisarfu shema yimatzu lehen oichlim. You should not burn the trumos taharos, because since there's an issue to burn trumos that are taharos, therefore you should not burn them, because maybe you'll have kohanim who will come to want to eat on Shabbos as your guests, and you'll be able to feed them the truma, and therefore it'd be also to burn them before Shabbos. Omar lehen, he responds, Kvar bikshu v'loy matzu. On Erev Shabbos, they tried to find guests, kohanim, but they could not find. So therefore, there's nobody to eat that truma on Shabbos, whereby, by no choice, you have to burn it before Shabbos. Omruloi, they said to him still, Shema chutz lechoimoy lanu. Maybe there are kohanim who are residing on Leil Shabbos outside of the border, outside of the city, within the tchum, whereby they'll come into the city on Shabbos. You'll be able to feed them trumos on Shabbos. Omar lehem lidivreichem af tluyos lisarfu shema yavo leovitarim. According to you, if you're worried about a shema, then maybe indeed those which are tluyos, which is safek tamei, safek tahor trumos, maybe Eliyahu Hanavi will come and determine that they are tahor, and therefore we can't burn those either. Amruloi, they say to him, Kvar muvtach lohen liyisrael she'en Eliyahu bo loy be'arvei Shabbos v'lo be'arvei Yom Tovim v'nei Titarach. We already have a tradition that Eliyahu Hanavi will not come on Erev Shabbos or Erev Yontif, because of the tircha, the difficulty that it will impose upon Klal Yisrael when they're preparing for Yontif and Shabbos. So that's not a possibility. The Brisa continues, Amru, Loizazu, it was stated they did not move, Mishum, Ashekavu, Misham, from there, Ashekavu alak Rabbi Elazar ben Yehuda ish bar Tusa, Shamar Mishum Rabbi Yehoshua. It states that they did not move until the halacha was established like Rabbi Elazar ben Yehuda. My lav afilu le'echol. Is it not talking about in regards to even eating, which refers to the 4th hour, which would be a raya like Rabbi Yehuda? Rabbi Yehuda says you can only eat in the 4th hour. You have no proof from here that the halakha is like Rabbi Yehuda, because loy levaer. Here we're talking about when it's stated don't move until you establish the halacha, like Rabbi Yehuda like Rabbi Elazar ben Yehuda, it's talking about in terms of destroying the chametz before Shabbos and only keeping 2 meals for Shabbos. Says the Gemara, Ve'af Rabbi Savar Lahad Rav Nachman. And even Rabbi, he also holds like Rav Nachman that the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda. They can only eat the chametz until the end of the 4th hour. The Omer Ravin Barav Ada Maise Ba'adam Echad Shehifkid Disakio Malaya Chametz Eitzel Yochin Chakuko. There was a Maise that took place by a person who was mafkid. The Sakya. Sakya is really 2. This Sakya is a contraction of 2 words. Di or du, which is 2. Sakya, sacks. It's a double sack. Usually they would put on the back of a donkey. 1 sack on one side, 1 sack on the other side, that was filled with chametz, and it was deposited by Yoichin Chakuko. V'nakvu achborim v'hoya chametz mebatzbetz v'yotzei, and mice, they pierced a hole in the sack, causing the chametz to leak out. Ubalifnei Rebbe, they came before Rebbe to ask what he should do with this chametz. It belongs to some other Jew that deposited by him, and now it's becoming now Erev Pesach. What should he do with it? Shori Shona Omar Loi. The first hour, Rebbe said, Hamtein, wait. Shniya Omar Loi Hamtein. The second hour, Rebbe said, also wait. Shlishis Omar Loi Hamtein. The third hour, he said, wait. Meaning, maybe the owner will come to eat it. Revis Omar Loi Hamtein. The 4th hour, he said, wait. Again, maybe the owner will come. Chamishis. Now the 5th hour comes. Omar Lei Tzei Umacher B'Shuk. Now Rebbe says, don't wait any longer. Go sell it in the shuk. Says the Gemara, my lav the nochrim ki Rabbi Yehuda. Are we not talking about that he is talking about selling it in the shuk to nochrim? Whereby that's the sheet of Rabbi Yehuda, who says it's muter behana in the 5th hour. And therefore we have a shita that Rabbi holds like the halach is Rabbi Yehuda. Omar Rav Yosef said, Loi, the Yisrael ki Rabbi Meir. We're talking about that he went to say, sell it in the shuk to another Bar Yisrael, which would be the sheet of Rabbi Meir, which is permissible in the 5th hour to a Bar Yisrael to eat. Says the Gemara, Abaye, Ili Yisrael. Abaye objects to Rav Yosef's explanation that we're talking about selling it to a Bar Yisrael, because he says, Ili Yisrael nishkele l'nafshei. What's the purpose of going to the shuk and selling it to a Bar Yisrael? Go ahead and eat himself. Mishum, answers the Gemara, chashada, because of a chashad, because it shouldn't then arouse suspicion, as the following brisa states, the Tanya. Gaboy tzedakah she'en lahem anim l'chalik. If the gaboy tzedakah who collect money and then they have copper coins in their hands, they do not have enough inim to then give out the coins to, so they now have an excess of the coins in their possession. It states portin la'achim ve'im portin la'atzmon. They should go ahead and exchange it to others for silver coins and not for themselves to provide the exchange and give silver coins that they themselves own. Now, copper will become rusted and therefore will lose its value. So there's a requirement that the Gaboim go ahead and exchange the copper coins. But it states over in the Brisa, they should do so by exchanging with other people, but not with themselves, because it will arouse suspicion that they're coming to then take maybe a better price for these coins. Gaboy tamchui, the Brisa goes on to say, the Gaboim of Tamchui is a daily type of tzedakah, she'ein lahem anim lechalek, where you give food to the anim on a daily basis, and they don't have enough anim to provide to give they're not enough anim, right, to then take this daily food. In other words, there's an excess of food. What should they do? They should sell the excess food to other people, but not to themselves. Why? Again, they shouldn't arouse suspicion that they're going to go ahead and take a better price for this food. Mishum shenemar, the Brisa brings a proof from the Pasuk. It states in the Pasuk, Vayisim nikim meHashem u'miyisrael. You should be nikim, you should be innocent in the eyes of Hashem and Klal Yisrael. Therefore, there's a requirement that a person should not do things that will arouse suspicion. So therefore, Abaye objects to Rav Yosef's explanation that indeed he's telling him to go ahead and sell it in the shuk to a Bar Yisrael. I'm sorry. Therefore, Abai, the Gemara is saying, therefore it doesn't make sense that Abai is objecting to Rav Yosef and saying that he should take it for himself. Rather, Rav Yosef is correct by saying it should be sold to a Bar Yisrael in the Shuk. Now the Gemara says, but wait a second. Omar le Rav Ada bar Masna Rav Yosef. One of the Talmidim, Rav Yosef, reminded him. Now Rav Yosef was somebody who was the Rebbe of many Talmidim, but Rav Yosef became ill at a certain point of his life, and he forgot a lot of his learning. We saw this many times in the Gemara so far, and not in Pesachim, but in Eruvin and also in Shabbos. And therefore, the Talmidim remind him of something he had said previously in his original teaching. So here, the Talmud Rav Ada bar Masna reminds of Yosef, and he says, "Befeirush Amris Lon, you told us Befeirush Tzei umoichen lenachrim Rabbi Yehuda, that this was talking about is to go out and sell it to the nachrim in the shuk, like the Shita Rabbi Yehuda. The Hainu, since it's the 5th hour and it's still mutter behana to then go ahead and use the chametz in the 5th hour to sell it to a nachri. That is the sheet of Rabbi Yehuda. So therefore we conclude the Brisa indeed has Rabbi saying that the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda. Says the Gemara, Rav Yosef had said, Keman azlo hashmaitze de Rabbi. To whom does this teaching of Rabbi follow? That we say that Rabbi says that you go to sell the remaining chametz that you have in the 5th hour to nachrim in the shuk. Like Rabbi Shem Gamliel, this not, it states in the Mishnah, in Bava Metzia, Hamafkid Peiros Eitzel Chaveiroi, a person who deposits produce by his friend, Afilu Hein Avudin Lo Yigaban, then even if those fruits become Avudim, they get destroyed, still the Nifgad, the one who's holding on to that Pikodon, he shall not touch them. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Oimer Moichron, you should sell them to Bezdin. In order to then, so Shim calls a loss to the mafkid. So you have Rabbi that seems to be going like the Shita of Shimon Gamliel, that you should sell the produce. Just like over here, it states that you sell the produce to the somebody to then make up that there shouldn't be a loss to the owner. So too over here, in regards to the chametz, go to the shuk in the 5th hour and sell it to a nachri so that he should not lose the value of this chametz. Omar le Abaye says, V'lav itmar, was it not stated in regards to this Mishnah that the Tana Kama says, Omar Rabba Bar Chana Rabbi Yochanan lo shonu elo b'kidei chisaron? On top of Yud Gimel Amud Beis, did not Rabbi Yochanan explain our Mishnah that the Tana Kama himself agrees that this is only talking about when it's kidei chisaron? That means to say that it's going to be only a minimum type of loss. Aval yoisem mikdei chisaron moichron bebezdin. Even the Tanakam would agree that you should go ahead and sell in the shuk if it's going to be then a great loss to the owner. Certainly over here as well, when it comes to chametz, after this 5th hour, it'll be osir and it'll lose its entire value. Certainly, even the Tanakam would agree with the Rebbe, they should go to the shuk and sell it to a nachri.